Touch the leg. General Vinod Sehgal retired from Indian Army in the year 1995 from the post of Director General Military Training. Currently, he is the Executive Director of Echo Monitor Society, a non-governmental organization concerned with demography and ecology. After retirement, he founded the Movement for Restoration of Good Government. He has lectured extensively in India and abroad on several burning issues of the day. He has authored one of the internationally acclaimed book, The Third Millennium Equipoise. Additionally, he has authored Restructuring South Asian Security, Restructuring Pakistan, Dealing with Global Terrorism, The Way Forward, Global Security Paradoxes, and Revitalizing Indian Democracy. His first book was selected as the Caracas International Book Fair in November 2008 for a Spanish edition of the same book. Today, we are deeply honored to have General Vinod Ji with us for an exclusive interview with Tibet TV. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
It is such an honor meeting you in person today. We know that you have had your first meeting with His Holiness in the year 1999.
Yes, I think it was the end of June.
Right. You know, when somebody calls out the name of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, what comes to your mind? Tell us about your earliest memories of him.
My first meeting is that Samdong Rinpoche at that time invited me to give a talk in Dharamsala while His Holiness was present. He said he'll be there till the end of June and then he'll come back in September when the parliamentary session or something like that. So I said I can be ready by the end of June, 30th. And the subject of my talk was Resurgence of Tibet in the 21st century. This was at the turn of the millennium. While I was giving this talk, so it was to be a 2-hour talk, but after about 80 minutes, someone came and gently tapped me on the back and whispered, "General." I said, "Yes." He says, "His Holiness will see you in 10 to 15 minutes. You have an audience with him." I didn't know, and I was very pleasantly surprised, and I wound up my talk, and we lined it up at the palace. At the steps of the palace, the secretary to His Holiness told me, "General, today is a very busy day. There are people from Taiwan, Tasmania, and so on and so forth. You got 15 minutes. Please see that you don't exceed that time." I said, "Not at all. For me, even 5 minutes are enough to get the blessings of His Holiness." So I went in. His Holiness came after about 3-4 minutes. I looked at my watch surreptitiously and I said, "Only 11 minutes left."
Yeah, military person.
Yes. And then His Holiness started talking about worldview, what happened. So fascinating, interesting, but then again I said, "Now there's only 8.5 minutes left." So then His Holiness stopped talking and I gave him this book to bless. And he did so. And I think he either presented it or he was there when the other Nobel Prize winner, Bishop Tutu, he had this book. And then there were a few others. I'm forgetting the name. But this book has gone through many hands. And many world leaders, scholars, scientists, statesmen, religious figures have felt that this book can bring about world peace and nuclear disarmament. So his blessing meant a very great deal to me. When that was over, I told His Holiness that I've come here to give this talk. And I said, "I'll just give you the gist what I wanted to say. That Tibet was conquered in 1950 or whenever from the east. And to my way of thinking, the reconquest of Tibet can only take place from the east. Southeast Asia, East Asia, India, which means coming like this. It cannot be a military conquest now, reconquest. It has to be through the spirit, to the mind, to alliances, or whatever. And I said, Samdong Rinpoche will brief you. And I saw that time was getting close to up. He stood up. So in spite of the fact there was some time left, I also stood up, thinking this is an indication for me to leave. Yeah. And then when I stood up also, we were both standing. He just came up to me, took my thumb in his, like this, pressed it to his heart, and then his head on my shoulder. This was good there for 45 seconds. And then he left me, and for 1 minute I didn't know what had happened, to be quite frank. I was still standing, but I was dazed. And then I was about to go. I don't know what came into my mind. I said, Your Holiness, look me in the eye. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm a battle-hardened soldier of 35 years. But I do believe that while you came to India in 1959 like a thief in the night, that 10 years after the turn of the millennium, you will be able to go back with dignity and honor. Under what conditions, I don't know. He smiled, I took leave, and I came away.
Right. So, yeah, talking about connection, now 22 years of connection with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Has his ideas or your interaction with him ever influenced your life in any way?
In several ways, because my interest in doing something for Tibet has gone up manifold. It's not me, anybody who's been in close association with His Holiness, his life does change.
52 years after coming into exile, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has rehabilitated the entire exile population in India, providing them with access to education and looking after their welfare, their health, and most importantly, leading the entire exiled Tibetan population onto the path of democracy. In the year 2011, His Holiness the Dalai Lama devolved his political authority completely. What significance do you see in this decision and action of His Holiness?
This question requires a long answer because I'll compress it. It has many facets. What was he trying to do? One is establish and stabilize democracy amongst his followers who came out with him in India and the world, the Tibetans who were directly connected to him, body and mind. He's achieved that brilliantly. No, but it has got a deeper significance. He's keeping it alive for a time when, suppose the Tibet is liberated. I mean liberated in two fields. One is liberated physically, militarily. I don't see that happening. Unless China breaks up, I don't see that happening in my lifetime or yours. Liberating physically is a possibility in the sense of thoughts. The Chinese have tried to suppress. In spite of over 150 immolations, they want to wean away the Tibetan population from His Holiness. So, deculturization, it will damage, but it cannot work beyond a point. And what His Holiness has done is that no matter what they do in Tibet, 100 years, 200 years, 50 years, this will always be a beacon established by His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, and it will remain functional. So therefore, CTA is very, very important. And my only problem is that at the moment, I think in India the Tibetan population is 80,000. If that population falls down to 25,000, forget it. It's all over. The chapter is closed. His Holiness will not say it. But I am going to ask Pempala and all that to give exhortation to Tibetan young boys and girls. For God's sake, produce 3-4 children now. If you pop it, it's all over, the story is over. Please go back, and this is the most important point I wanted to make through this interview, and I will go and speak to whenever I come there to everybody. It can be done by word of mouth, one to the other. So this is the answer. If you don't have it, we are going to disappear. What use is, what is all this exercise that His Holiness done to make sure for 100 years or for a couple of generations? तो अगर तुम पैदा ही नहीं करोगे तो what will be left? Please, this is the most important thing. You propagate it. And this has to be done in India. Those who've gone abroad, they'll send money. But you are in India, you can touch Tibet Himalayas. You go to Ladakh and you are almost in Tibet. That feel will only be there in India. So this is the biggest threat, not Chinese military or anything.
Do you think it's high time for China to now try and resolve the Sino-Tibet conflict?
This we are going deep into psychology. The Chinese leaders, their hatred for His Holiness is visceral. They can't stand the idea of His Holiness getting any benefits. Tibet is not the point, it is His Holiness they cannot. And what is making them worse is that in spite of the cruelty, this is a very important point I am making, in spite of the cruelty, in spite of what they are doing to Tibetans, in spite of the number of times they have called them various names, wolf in sheep's clothing and various other things, he's never said anything against the Chinese. He said Chinese people are nice people, may they prosper. He's never retaliated against the Chinese leader. This is making them doubly angry. And they've lost their mind in this. Reason is departed from the mind where His Holiness is concerned. When Second World War ended, and the Tibet question could have been taken when Chinese invaded, the following people in the world had a locus standi to say something about Tibet, or do something about Tibet, pressurize or otherwise. Great Britain, which had just handed over power to India. The whole Tibetan question had been Shimla Conference, Jangasbay and all that. So they were imperial power. The decline would start, but in 1947, Great Britain, United States, being the world power, having fought in China, nationalist China and all that. Third was India. No fourth power had a locus standi to say or do anything about it. It's none of your business. India still has the locus standi because of our religion, because of the fact that Buddhism went from here, Buddhism is coming back now, all those holy texts are coming back. This is physical. And geographical continuity. I would say at the moment the asymmetry is this much, militarily and economically. But India is mighty strong now. After Galwan they can't do very much. I'll tell you why. Surely, if the military power is say 10 times, 7 times, what is the force they can put against India? That power they are generating to take on the Americans in the Pacific, in South China Sea. We are just a smaller bit of it. So we are quite adequate to take on China in the Indo-Tibetan border. And our ability to not only take on China, but to get the better of them 5-10 years from now would be comparatively awesome. seeing that China has to be committed globally, so your forces deploy. So you can bring so much of your military mass against India and no more. At that time, India will be in a position, I am sure, to get certain concessions from China. And in my mind, those concessions to begin with would be restoration of the ecology of the Tibet with representation from the CTA, all on the same side, same purpose.
There are several individuals and organizations that are coming out and calling on the government of India to confer Bharat Ratna on His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You are a friend to His Holiness Dalai Lama for more than 2 decades now. What are your thoughts?
In fact, I was one of the first people to write about it. Of course, but government of India is stuck with the border and Xi Jinping. Kya kare? At the moment, they are worried about the consequences. A lot of steps they should be taking is because of China, and not because they don't have the same belief system, or they feel less for His Holiness. That's never been the case.
Thank you so much, General Vinod Saigal, for taking your time out for this interview, for welcoming us into your beautiful home. Thank you once again.
It is always my pleasure. This is the first time that I've spoken at such length to anybody in the world.